Welcome back to InDesign CC 2020 Classroom in a Book Chapter 2. We're on part 2 of continuing this edible blossoms. The last one worked with creating these styles and played with some of the text. Now let's go ahead and continue. So in the last one we were trying to figure out why I couldn't figure out the hyphenation. I was looking in the wrong place. If we go to Window and come down here to Type and Tables and grab the one called Paragraph. Paragraph will go ahead is a little bit different than your paragraph styles and will let you turn off those hyphenation issues. So here we'll be in our paragraph, or let's click here to the top one. Let's go here to our paragraph here. We can turn off hyphenate right there and get that homemade not to be split. So that is where you're going to worry about how to deal with those parts. So let's go ahead and work with some graphics. Let's go ahead and make sure we can see the whole thing. So View, Fit, Spread, and Window. And you'll see that we've got a few things off over to the side. So let's make sure we don't have anything selected. Let's select over on the edge of the board, or you can do the Edits, Deselect All. And let's do our Import File button. It's one of the last ones on the Okay, so we want to go ahead and do, never done it, is import file. The last option on the properties pane. Oh, it's over here. All right, a new one. They're constantly moving things around. So we've got import file. So it's kind of like place. Let's go ahead and grab our one called dining room JPEG and make sure our show import options is not selected and do open. And we're going to go ahead and get a loaded cursor so you can tell it's a little picture. Let's go ahead and you'll see it's got kind of, let's see if I can show that to you a little bit better. See how it's got kind of little hashtags at the top corner? That's trying to help you align it. So let's go ahead and add it to the guide and to the top right there and do a control minus and we'll zoom out. And you're going to see it's really, really big and you're going to say, what did you just do? So one way to do it is if you place it just the size it is, which is what we did, it's going to come in the size of the original image. So you might not want to do that. So let's do an escape and get our loaded cursor again, or Control Z. Let's go ahead and draw a box that goes from the top corner down to the guide here and the other margin. And now let's go ahead and put it in there. And now it's going to scale to the box that you have made. So that's the difference between just hitting place and making the frame that you need it to be. So let's use that selection tool. And if you see in the middle, you get this thing called, you can grab the selection tool, you can change the size of the frame that it's in. So this is one way to kind of pay attention to how big things are. Or you can do a few other things. The next thing we can do is you'll see this, you get this little donut in the middle. This is called the content grabber. And that actually allows you to shift what is showing in that frame itself. So if you see the brown, you see that the picture is actually a little bit bigger than what we have. So it's up to you. Just pick how kind of like you like it. Click out when you've got it and you like where it's at. Now let's do a Control S and save. So now let's do a few things with some objects. We've got our, I'm gonna go ahead and if you hold spacebar and hit your mouse, it'll turn into that hand. Makes it a little bit easier. What we want to do right now is select these flower graphics. So they're all grouped together. And we're going to go ahead and bring them over towards Edible Blossom, which is kind of perfect. And maybe we want to make sure that we have them exactly the right place. So over in Properties, under X, I want to put them at 1.85. I'm going to use my Tab key to say go to the next one. And my Y to be 0.05. And I want to tip them a little bit, so Tab. Actually, I want to tip it over here, add a -10, and hit Enter. And I don't like how it's doing that. What did it do wrong? It's up way too high. I want to bring it down. And I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of, I'm not sure those numbers are quite right. I might have to check that sometime. All right, so we've got that. I see why. Let's go to play with it a little bit differently. Let's go to, in this transform, let's go ahead and make sure this top right one is picked because it's not telling us to do that. So from there, let's do 1.85 tab, 0.05 tab, and come down here, rotation, -10. So it was that relative to that we're having a problem with. It just doesn't, it's not showing us that part. So make sure when you're working in the work that you are looking at all the little tiny instructions. All right, let's do Control S and save. So let's go ahead and change an object stroke. So let's make sure we've got nothing selected. So you can go Edit and deselect all. So I don't have anything selected. Let's go to Type. Let's hide those hidden characters so we're not seeing all the extras going on. And now let's go to our Direct Selection tool, which is the one below Selection. It's the white one. And let's go ahead and check on the white flower in the graphic. We're going to go ahead and just select that one. So let's go to the fill box and change the color of that flower. This one wants us to change it to green. So let's go ahead and choose that dark green. I'm not sure why we want a dark green flower, but that's what they're telling us to do. All right, if you hit V on the keyboard, you will automatically switch to your selection tool. And then we want to choose that black horizontal line at the bottom of the page, this black one down here. And once again, we're going to change that fill. Instead of being black, let's go ahead and make it that medium green. Nothing's that. Oh, it should be a stroke. That's why. It's a line. Lines are strokes, not fills. So book needs to be fixed on that one too. All right. Let's go ahead and click out and do a Control S and save. So now what we're going to do is create an object style. So let's go to our window and styles. Come down here to object styles. So object styles work really great when you're trying to do things like maybe repeat a drop shadow or a frame throughout your publication. I'm going to go ahead and take my object style and I'm going to slide it here till I get the blue line. I'm going to dock it. That way I can find it when I want it later. Let's go ahead and grab my selection tool. And from that, we want to go ahead and grab the frame here. It says starters and small plates. And then we want to go grab the green stroke and drop shadow from here. So you can see that now, I'll do a control plus so you can kind of see a little bit better. If I click out, you now have a, let's even change it to preview mode. You can do this by hitting W as well. I've got this cute little white box, green stroke, and a little tiny bit of a drop shadow. So you can hit W and switch between those modes. So now I want to go ahead and do the same thing here. So we've got this entrees and dessert. Let's go ahead and apply that once again. So it makes it a lot easier as far as not having to do a lot of repeated things. So maybe you want to do that same over here. Maybe you want to add that green stroke drop shadow here. And around all your images, we're going to add that drop shadow all the way around all your images. So that makes it a little bit different, makes it stand out a little bit more. Heck, we can even apply that drop shadow to our, oh, undo, I don't like that. What if we do it to edible blossoms? Nope, undo, that looks awful. All right, let's do a Control S and see what we've got going on. So this one only has one page, it only has the front. So right now it says I've got 17 errors. That's a problem. So let's go ahead and find out what our errors are. let's go here to our pre-flight panel. Part of it is color. Color space not allowed. So we're going to have to go ahead and make sure we fix that. So let's go to our window. Let's come down here to color and swatches. We want to kind of look at what the swatches are in here. And we want to double click on the bright red swatch, or red bright. And it's going to go ahead and give us some information about it. And we want to change it from being RGB to CMYK. So we want it to change it from red, green, blue to cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So CMYK is right there. And then we're going to say OK. So it's not going to make a huge difference that you see, but it is going to make a difference to the printer in the end. All right, it's also saying we've got 2 text errors to some overset text. So let's go to our text frame. See where we've got some overset text. I see where it is. All right, so Urban Oasis right now, it's telling us we've got a little bit too much. Let's grab and make that a little bit bigger. And it should, gardens, there we go. So that would be our problem right there. And one more text frame's got some issues. So let's see, oh, it's this one. So why is it having problems? Probably because we made it, yep, we lost a little bit there. So let's go ahead and make this one a little bit bigger too, just so it's the same size. So that's why you want to make sure you pre-flight all of your documents before you turn them in. You want to make sure you have no errors. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to do a Control S and save. If I hit out here, make sure I'm not selecting anything, hit W. It's going to make it so I can see it in the preview mode. I'm going to do Control Alt 0, and that'll do the view on page. And I hate this stroke. So I'm going to take this stroke off. So let's turn property and say stroke is no stroke. That looks a little bit cleaner. All right, so you can see you've got quite a few different ways to play with things, make things fit. So I'm going to do a Control S and save. I'm going to come up here to File and come down to Package. I'm going to make sure I don't have any errors and say Package. Go ahead and make sure it's in your correct folder. So we are on Lesson 2. And instead of this word folder, I'm going to write PKG so I know it's the packaged one. Yes to fonts, yes to copies, yes to update. We want to include the fonts, we want the IDML, and we want the PDF. You might get a warning when you do this. It says things like don't steal the fonts. If you do, just say OK. All right, from here, let's go ahead and look in our lesson number 2. I have that D. Oser. Double click it. I've got one for fonts. I've got one for links. I've got my IDML, INDD, and a PDF, so I know it's all there and perfect, ready to go. I'm going to do my right click and send to compressed folder. And once it zips it, that zipped one is the one I'm going to go ahead and turn into Canvas for this assignment. So what you really need to make sure you remember on this one is how to create those styles. Styles can be your very best friend, so definitely make sure you're paying attention to them. And I look forward to seeing your examples.